Folks, we have now made public, we've talked about you, really our memo, our analysis. It's almost like a brief, but it's easier to read, about 45 pages. It's footnoted, but you can read through it without having to go through like a brief and a lot of legalese. Clearly why the proceeding with the trial of a private citizen in impeachment for the U.S. Senate violates the United States Constitution. We're not talking hypothetical law review articles anymore, Lawrence Tribe. We're not talking about, this idea of some guy from the Secretary of War who, by the way, they love to leave out, Andy, what ultimately happened when the only time they tried to do this to someone who was no longer in office. They love leaving out the Democrats and the House managers, what ultimately occurred in the Senate vote. And what ultimately occurred is enough senators said, you know what, he did commit high crimes and misdemeanors, but we don't have jurisdiction here, and he was acquitted.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about the Belknap case in 1876. 26 senators polled after the trial was over. 22 said, we believe he's guilty, but we're not going to vote to find him guilty because we don't have jurisdiction to try the case. Look, the first thing a court has to decide is whether it has the power to say. That's what jurisdiction means, the power to say, the power to judge, the power to try, the power to make a determination of guilt or innocence. That's what jurisdiction means. And those senators and the Democrats, of course, have avoided this scrupulously. They don't want to talk about jurisdiction. They want to get right to the merits of the case. Well, guess what? You can't do that. I've been a prosecutor for 46 years, and the first thing I've got to have in a court is jurisdiction. A court has got to have the ability to try a case before it can try a case.
Dan, I want to play the sound from Senator Rand Paul and get your reaction, because I wonder if this sets up a dangerous precedent for not impeachment, but for removal of senators and members of the House because of their rhetoric. Because listen to bite two from Senator Rand Paul, who had to deal with a violent mob once going after him and his wife.
This inflammatory wording, this violent rhetoric of Chuck Schumer was so bad that the Chief Justice, who rarely says anything publicly, immediately said this kind of language is dangerous as a mob tried to invade the Supreme Court. So if people want to hold President Trump accountable for language, there has to be a consistent standard. And to my mind, it's a partisan farce because they're not doing anything to Chuck Schumer, not doing anything to Representative Omar, not doing anything to Maxine Waters. It's just not fair. It's just partisan politics under a different name.
I mean, let's play Schumer again, just for everybody to understand that if you're going to play this game, you gotta be honest and play the other side.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
And as Senator Paul said, Than, they were rebuked. Senator Schumer, now Majority Leader, was rebuked, which does not occur much, by Chief Justice Roberts because of those remarks.
Sure doesn't. Look, Senator Paul is absolutely correct on this. If the standard is going to apply to one side in politics, it has to apply to the other. And look, Jordan, I actually think there's a reason that both of those types of speeches are probably protected. It's because we're supposed to have an atmosphere where you can engage in vigorous debate. It's vigorous debate that actually rubs the rough edges off of an idea. I mean, that's sort of the whole idea. And of course, we've advocated many times on this program for the outcome to actually be merit-based and for the best ideas to rise, and sometime there should be a bipartisan consensus. But the way you get there, Jordan, is not suppressing speech. The way you get there is engaging in rigorous debate. But look, if you're going to attack it on one side, then the other side is going to have to abide by that standard as well. And Senator Schumer, Jordan, he fell short of that standard.